Hello, this is Nick here from Gorgon Reviews, and I'm speaking with Chandler Levack, director and writer of I Like Movies, which is the official closing film of the Seattle International Film Festival on Sunday, May 22nd, 2023. I Like Movies is about a senior in high school who dreams to leave Canada and go to NYU, far away from Canada, to have a career as a director and getting it. And along the way, he gets a job at a local movie rental store to help make some money. Thank you so much for spending time here today. How's your pre-movie festival jitters going?
So far so good. Yeah, I have to pack. I might go swimming at the public pool after this. But yeah, I'm really excited to go to Seattle. I'm a huge Cameron Crowe fan, so I'm hoping to do some singles, location walking tours if I can. Just me following in Bridget Fonda's footsteps and it's just it's so cool to be the closing night film of the Seattle International Film Festival.
Now, my questions will be both for you and the movie. Don't worry. So the first one's usually a hard one. What's the first movie you remember seeing in theaters?
Oh my goodness. I think that my mom told me, I don't can this be accurate? Dumbo? I don't know if that was in theaters or if maybe we just watched it um as like a VHS or something. But she told me that I was obsessed with it and I just watched it over and over again. You'll have to fact check that because I was born in 1986.
I'm sure it
Um
came out in theaters at some point.
Otherwise, I think it might have been that movie We're Back. Remember that? It was like with animated dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. They had that cool parade scene,
Oh, and
and
I think also that movie, it's like an animated film and like Billy Joel plays a dog. Yeah,
Oliver and Company.
yeah. And they have that song that's like, "Why should I worry?" Yeah, I feel like that leaves a strong impression in my brain. But I also have very intense memories of watching The Lion King and also Casper. And my friend, my childhood neighbor, was like very terrified of Casper, and I remember she like was crying and she wanted to leave, and I was so mad at her because I was like, "You are Tevin Sawa is coming on any moment, and I can't believe that this is happening to me right now."
To clarify, was she afraid of the movie Casper or the ghost specifically named Casper?
Well, Casper is notoriously a friendly ghost,
Right.
so I think it was probably
It's the
the
other
other ghosts
ones.
in the
Yeah.
movie, but yeah, it was too much for her.
Okay. Um, Now, for the movie I Like Movies, the main character is named Lawrence Queller. Is he secretly you?
Is he secretly me?
Yes.
Oh, um, I think it's a very autobiographical film. I always say that I think, my star sign is in Lawrence, but I'm like a rising Atlanta and my moon is probably like in Matt McCarchuck or something. So I definitely took a lot of personal lenience with Lawrence, and I think was really trying to kind of explore the sort of person that I was in high school and really atone for a lot of the behavior that I demonstrated back then. But there's a lot of leeway with the character, but I also think if anyone wants to write a highly personal film, it's a great device to just change the sex of the main character so nobody knows that it's you.
And props to Isaiah for playing such a unique character. Someone that we loved and hated, depending on a part of the film. But I always felt like I understood him and knew at least why he was reacting and making these decisions. So that's great. How much of that would you say was Isaiah on his own with the character, and how much was the plan from the start?
Well, I'm really glad that that you were able to empathize with him because yeah, he is a really prickly character that has a lot of triggers and difficulty, relating to people. So yeah, I mean, I think when I was writing him, I definitely had a love-hate relationship with Lawrence, and sometimes I felt like, I was just kind of taking dictation and he was going on these endless reads about, refusing to sell Shrek or his feelings about the movie Punch Drunk Love, and I kind of felt like the audience like, "Oh my god, please shut up." But I think that what was really important is that I could find this great actor to embody him and make him, worth empathizing with, and that you could commit to his journey. And I think Isaiah really elevated what I wrote, and he, is just such naturally a very charismatic person that has so much emotional intelligence, and he's a really likable, hilarious, incredible actor. So I think that really did me a service, because I think in the hands of someone else the movie would be like utterly unwatchable and completely unbearable. And I was really looking for an actor who could kind of be the ultimate author of the film, the way that like I looked at movies like, Jason Schwartzman in Rushmore, or Saoirse Ronan in Lady Bird, and they really feel like they are like the essence of those films, and I'm so lucky that I got to discover that with Isaiah.
This is a multi-part question. Did you actually work at a movie rental store? If so, which one? And do you have a favorite memory while working there?
Yes, I worked at Blockbuster Video in Burlington, Ontario in 2003. Oh, you did as well.
Well,
Incredible.
not in Ontario, not in 2003.
Yeah, you
Well,
didn't. I don't think I remember working with you directly. But yeah, I mean, so many memories. I mean, a lot of the memories that are like exactly in this film, like watching Full Metal Jacket for the first time in the back room of Blockbuster while eating a chicken teriyaki sub. That was a really great time for me. Stocking the shelves, kind of weird interactions with customers where I'd be like trying so hard to sell them on a film that they didn't want to watch. So I think,
happiness.
yeah, Delon's Happiness, which I did love at the time. I feel like I was just such a cinephile and so obsessed with movies. So anyone that would like give me the time of day so I could, be like, oh my God, the Trois Couleurs trilogy, you should really watch Bleu. It's just like I just desperately wanted an audience. So I think that I was grateful to have this kind of after school job that was also kind of like a conduit for my like artistic passions at the time.
Yeah, and it got to be like you're helping sales, you're recommending films, you're the expert, you're walking the
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah.
When I worked Blockbuster, it was when it was ending, unfortunately. So I was working at a store that was part of the final
Oh my God,
battle.
that's so interesting. I have so many questions about that.
You can interview me later too. Don't worry. Um, uh, okay. Now, based on my thorough months and months of research before this interview, I saw that you work as a film critic.
Mhm.
So how has that transition been for you? And was it always a dream you had to go from criticism to directing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it was always a dream to make films. I made films in high school, but they were probably even worse than the Rejects Night movie that Lawrence makes at the beginning of the film. And I think that, I studied film at the University of Toronto, but my education was so academic that it kind of immobilized me, because I think, studying sort of this canon of like great male directors really psyched me out from kind of thinking that I would ever get to be an artist. And then I kind of discovered people like Pauline Kael, or, Susan Sontag, or and or Lester Bangs, and it kind of made me go, oh, maybe like criticism is sort of it's like adjacent to filmmaking and artistic. It's an artistic outlet in its own way. Like Chuck Klosterman was a huge obsession for me when I was a teenager, and I guess I thought that like pop culture criticism could sort of be a good outlet, I guess, for like my love of film and popular culture. But then I guess the older I got, the more stronger that desire got to kind of make films and tell my own story. So I started, making music videos, which was kind of closer, and directing short films, but I still hadn't felt like I'd ever made anything that was truly my own voice. So I think that getting to make this film was certainly like a dream come true, and like a long time coming. It was just like many, many decades of angst in preparation for it. But I do think this is one of the most like film critic movies to ever film critic. Like it could only be made by a film critic. There's like a movie reference like every other line, and I think part of it is me trying to um investigate this cultural trope of sort of like the film bro, like nature versus nurture discourse. Like, are they born or are they made? And is there a way to set them on a path of healing before it's too late?
How long of a process do you think it took to go from I should make a movie to holy shit, I finished making this movie?
Maybe I think that probably started when I was like 27 or something, and now I'm 35, so almost an entire decade. Yeah.
Your next one's going to be a lot quicker.
I hope so. I mean, I think it's like my mom always says that, like, my birth was like 13 hours and then my brother came out in 30 minutes, so I'm hoping that it'll be like that. But we'll see. I mean, it's really hard. I feel like everyone says that the second feature is even harder than the first one. Um, and I read somewhere that the average gap for female filmmakers between their first and second feature is 8 years, which is a pretty disturbing statistic. So I'm really hoping I have another script that is ready to go. If anyone is listening to this podcast and wants to give me $3.5 million, um, but it's a really I guess interesting yet difficult time to be kind of trying to make independent films in sort of the same spirit of like coming of age movies that were maybe popular in like the 90s and 2000s. So
Mhm.
I'm really thrilled by the response to this movie, and it's been so galvanizing and encouraging. And I'm just
Mhm.
hoping that I'll get to keep making films.
So the goal is to keep making films, which is great. Do you think you're still going to also be a film critic at the same time?
That's something I'm trying to figure out. Um, I would love to keep doing it because I think that obviously making a film has to make you a better film critic because you understand the process more. You probably have a lot more empathy for filmmakers. And there's just things you kind of innately learn about the art and craft of it that obviously when you're assessing films, can't help but like bleed into it. And certainly so much about being critic is like, as you know, you're sort of your own sensibility and your taste in things. And so, I think that like making my own film is kind of hopefully help me understand why I like things or what makes a good movie or why things work or fail as an art form.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'm kind of worried about just like the industry and what my role is. Like, what happens if you trash Angry Birds 3 and then you have a meeting with a producer who's like, I really want you to punch up this female, minor bird. She needs to be more fleshed out. Oh, wait, you trash this movie. Like, I just don't know how to navigate that. So I'm having a little bit of an existential crisis, if I can be fully honest about it. But at least I really hope that I can interview other filmmakers and actors because I really also find that so wonderful too.
Mhm. Well, I'll do my best to make sure Sony doesn't hear about this um,
Thank
for Angry Birds 3. It's probably
you.
coming out eventually. I honestly don't know. Um, I Like Movies was already released in Canada theatrically, and now you're obviously on the festival circuit. What other cool film fests besides SIFT do you have coming up?
I know it's gonna play at the other SIFF, the Sydney International Film Festival in Australia soon. Yeah, I think it's playing a bunch of places. It's playing a children's festival in Italy, which I'm like, this movie is not for children unless they enjoy 7-minute monologues about sexual assault. Um, so I'm interested how that's gonna play. I know it's gonna play in France. It's gonna play in Dallas. And then we're really really hoping that we're gonna have U.S. distribution as well. Because it truly is my dream that the film could be released in the States theatrically and that American audiences could watch it because it's already played in film festivals in Santa Barbara and Miami and Minneapolis, and it's gotten a really incredible response. So just hoping that more US audiences can see
Here's a unreasonably hard question now. What's your current favorite movie?
it. um my favorite movie, like a movie that I love from this past year, or just my forever one.
I want the forever one, but if you'd rather answer the last year one, I understand.
My forever one is Almost Famous by Cameron Crowe, which I just love and is such a comfort film for me. And also I kind of have this theory that like the movie you love, all the art that you love when you're 15 is kind of your favorite movie forever, or your favorite album
Mhm.
forever. And there's just something about that age that like those things just kind of creep into your psychology and are almost like forming your brain. So I feel like that movie really was kind of it for me. um, but then movies I've loved over the last like year or so, or just recently. I just watched the Chantal Akerman movie called Rendezvous d'Anna, Lay's Rendezvous d'Anna, and it's about
Mhm.
like a female filmmaker that's kind of on tour, promoting her work, and then she's sort of just spending all this time having these very lonely and heartbreaking conversations with people, or sitting alone in her hotel room, like waiting for her mom to call, or hearing phone messages. And I felt like I'd never been so recently represented on screen. And so that movie really struck a chord with me. I think it's on the Criterion collection. You can stream it. And I know that Todd Field used it a lot as inspiration for some of the shots in Tar, because there's these amazing long horizontal tracking shots through like hotel lobbies, or down the street, and it's just really beautifully shot. So that's one that I recently fell in love with.
Nice. Um, in your own words, like a sentence, why should someone be seeking out I like movies to watch as soon as they can?
Um, just give me a second. I mean, somebody on Letterboxd said it was like licorice pizza for people who want to kill themselves, and you know, I feel like that's the best testimonial I could ever have. So maybe that's what I would say.
I have to think about that all weekend now. All right. Thanks once again for spending your time answering some questions about directing like movies and also about movies. For everyone else, especially the people with $3.5 million disposable, who
Hmm.
definitely listen and watch this. Um, if need to, I'm sure you could contact her directly, but you have to go
Yeah,
through
slide
me.
into my
Please
DM.
let me know as well. I'm just curious. But I like movies gets its Seattle premiere this Sunday, May 22nd, the closing film of SIF, after which there is partying and dancing, which is very unlike the movie itself. The characters would probably not go to the party after the film.
No, they're just there for the movies. It was so
Yeah.
funny. I was recently at this small town in Canada, and this older lady watched the movie, and she was really upset. She was like, "There's so much swearing. I hated it. Why was the language?" And I was like, she's like, "Why did you have so much swearing and language in it?" And I was like, "Well, I tried to make up for it by having absolutely no sex or drugs or alcohol." you
Mhm.
know, he's very much living a very PG-13 existence.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you. This was so great. Thank you so much.